And we are live. Thank y'all for tuning in to
What
another
up,
episode
though?
of Conversations That Matter. Y'all
What
clap
up,
it
though?
up.
What up, though?
Clap it up, clap it up, clap it up. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. How y'all doing today? Everybody good?
How y'all feeling?
Everybody in the audience good? Everybody online good?
How y'all feeling out there?
That's what's up. I'm your main man, William Hussey 365.
Gene Blackman.
Big 22, Dominique Davis.
Better know it. It just
Alright.
is Conversations that
Conversations
matter.
that matter.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. So today's topic is co-parenting, single parenting, step parenting, and blended families.
Come
All
on
right.
now.
So we're gonna come with it today.
Woo.
This is a good topic, by the way. I got a lot of feedback from this topic. I shared it with a couple of people, and I had some good feedback. What y'all think?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
I'm
We all
definitely
can relate.
expecting the comments to
Yeah.
be wild.
Word. We all can relate to this. So let's
Might
get
want
on
to lock
into it.
that door.
Man.
That's what's up. So let's start with co-parenting, y'all. So what is co-parenting and how does it work? Let's start with us. Go ahead, Jay.
Oh man. So for me, co-parenting is two parents being able to raise their kids, hopefully or ideally on common grounds and with the same morals, but sometimes that doesn't happen. But
Right.
but you just have two different parents parenting and trying to figure out how to raise their kids together.
Yeah, and it's very important, man, because sometimes we might not be on the same page. We might, like you say, our rules might be different. You know what I'm saying? Circumstances might be different. So you got to set the guidelines. What about you, Nick?
Co-parenting is putting the kids first, reconciling, meeting each other halfway, trying to stay on one accord,
Most definitely.
but all for the common denominator, which is the kid, the children.
Yeah.
So that's ideal.
Yeah.
But what does it really look like for a lot of us?
The reality
You know what I mean?
of it, right?
Because I know, like, for my daughter, who is 25 now, about to be 26,
Mhm.
I was a young man, immature, and her mother was young. So co-parenting looked like a whole bunch of weaponizing our daughter against each other.
Co-parenting like a tug of war.
Man, listen,
That's not co-parenting.
listen. Well, it's co-parenting. It's just not the ideal way, because co-parenting, it is what it is.
Most definitely.
And whether it's good or bad. So there's a good way to co-parent and there's a bad way to co-parent. And so I think what you're speaking on is what's ideal, not necessarily what is practical in a lot of households.
Give me an example of what's practical.
Yeah, what's practical?
Well, what's practical? Like, I just gave you an example of what was practical for me.
Mhm.
Now, me co-parenting at 47 looks a whole lot different than me
Right.
co-parenting when I was 21.
More mature, more experiences.
Absolutely. Being able to communicate better,
Yeah.
being able to let some things live and not have to, make everything an argument or a fight, or
Right.
I don't always have to have my way at 47 like I did at 21.
Right.
So I was co-parenting in both situations.
Mhm.
I just think I'm a little wiser now. And
Most
so
definitely.
co-parenting looks a whole lot more ideal.
Yeah.
Being right is overrated when you
Absolutely.
co-parenting.
Most
Absolutely.
definitely.
And that was the hardest thing I had to learn. Being right is overrated because a lie always gonna die. Can't nothing outlive the truth. So
Most
for
definitely.
you to voice your opinion or to voice a fact, being right is somewhat overrated, and you just gotta let it just ride out.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
But so what happens when you're trying to co-parent with a parent who morals are totally
Different.
offline from what yours are? I think, what I'm saying, that was kind of an issue that I had. And her morals were different. Didn't mean that they were wrong,
Right.
or she was wrong. They were just different than mine. So some things that was okay for my daughter may not have been okay for me.
Facts.
Right.
You know
right,
what I'm
right.
saying? But once again, that didn't mean she was wrong. So now I'm imposing my morals on them, and I'm saying you're wrong because you don't have the same morals as I do. And so now,
It's the
now
tug of
it
war.
turns
There's
into
a
a
tug
fight.
of war, right?
You know what I'm saying?
But I think you're right for I think you're right though, because if you see something wrong with the other parent and how they're parenting, you got to communicate that. I wouldn't sit back and just let it ride. You know what I'm saying? So communication is key. Now, if they gonna listen or not is a whole nother ball game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I know in my situations when I was co-parenting, it was more of I felt like I was the better parent in certain circumstances. I do. I still do. It don't matter. I do. But at the end of the day, I had to respect that they are, her kids as well, and she's the mother. Da 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 da. But some things I just don't agree with, and that's when the tug of war started. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But it wasn't more of the emotions or feelings like tied in, like I want it this way just to piss her off or something like that.
Right.
It was just what's right is right, what's wrong is wrong. And if I don't allow my kids to say play outside all night long, and you got them outside all night long, we got a problem.
That's
you
a
know
problem.
what I'm saying? But then the tug of war come in because you can't just go take your kids and take them to your house. You know what I'm saying? You got to trust them to a certain extent that that's their mother. They're in good hands. Even though I don't agree with what you do, I still got to respect it to a certain degree. But I just communicate that. You know what I'm saying?
Now the curve in the road, the controversy is this: if one parent wants to be a brother or sister to the kid,
or a friend,
yeah. And then the other parent wants to be a parent,
right?
A lot of times that child is going to want to be with the parent that wants to be a brother, sister, or a friend.
Yeah.
So and then your word gets disputed a lot.
Yeah,
in our culture, it gets disputed a lot.
Come
So
on,
you
bro.
got to be careful who you lay down with and have kids.
And then
with.
the kid might play sides. They know I could get away with it over here at mama house or daddy house. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And that's when the tug of war starts too, because now it's between you and the kid. Because the kid like, oh, you ain't gonna let me get away? Oh, well, I just go over here to mama house. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a situation, or I feel like it's a crisis that we have in our community where I feel like effective communication will resolve all that. If both of us can be on the parent level, you know what I'm saying, and act accordingly as parents to the children, like you said, put the children first, their safety first, their needs first, and everything else will iron out itself. I believe. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So what's effective communication? So let's say, your the mother of your child
Mhm.
allows something that just makes you extremely upset.
Right.
How do you communicate that to where it becomes effective and not you just
Rah type thing. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I feel like first you got to have patience, and sometimes you got to agree to disagree and put the emotions aside. Even though if I'm feeling angry and like, you know what, I totally disagree with that. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, to a certain degree, it's like, what can you do if she say this is my way or no way? You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I try to communicate my feelings and why I feel that way and my best interest for the situation. You know what I'm saying? Either she gonna listen or she not, but I can't physically make her or force her to do anything. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I kind of put myself in a position to where I am today, to where I can't get there.
So what is your tone like when you're addressing something that really upsets you?
It's not good, G. It's not good. It's not good at all. It's definitely not good. It's not good on her end either. You got to think about it.
Right.
Both sides.
So then does the communication become effective?
I mean, it does. It does. I just feel like, you know what I'm saying, that you got to have a level head. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, you got to have the effective communication where what I'm communicating is totally has to make sense to the situation or circumstance. Like, I'm not just wilding out just to be wilding out. You know what I'm saying? If it's because of my child's safety, that's a different ball game. You know what I'm saying? So if I communicate to her, okay, these should be the boundaries because of their safety, then you should understand that. And if she doesn't understand that and try to bite back, then it got to be emotional. It's not because of the circumstance, because you know that's not safe for our child.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Just to go off a simple example.
Oh, that's real. That's real. That's real.
But it's hard though. Like you said, it's a tug of war because they don't have to listen or you don't have to listen. But like Dominique said, you got to put the child first.
Here's the thing with me. It's the art of adaptation with both parents, because before the child, y'all knew each other before the child.
Right.
You guys knew each other before y'all had that child. You know her ups and downs. She knows your ups and downs. You know when she too cocky or too humble. She know when you too cocky or too humble.
Right.
So you guys need to exclude the child from the conversation that matters.
Yeah.
And be adults.
Most
Now,
definitely.
the art of adaptation comes in and it could be, there's no right or wrong way, but let me say this. It doesn't matter if the male could be wrong or the female could be wrong. You guys have to come to a common ground. But sometimes you could be talking to your baby mama or your baby dad, and it's like talking to a brick wall.
Most definitely. And that's what most of us deal with.
It's
Yeah.
like talking to a brick wall. So
Right.
what the wise man say? If two fools are arguing, I mean, if a wise man is arguing with a fool, the third party is going to look and say, "Look at these two fools arguing."
Absolutely.
So I
Arguing
can't
with
scoop to your
Absolutely.
level.
Right.
So I got to know how to come at you, and she has to know how to come at me. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Most
Yeah.
definitely.
So yeah,
I think
And
what
that's time. That's learned behavior.
yeah,
I
that's
think
not
over
behavior.
time
Absolutely.
you can learn it. You know,
Yeah,
because
but-
once you get the emotions and feelings out the way, the old relationship and all that out the way, then it shouldn't be nothing but the kid. You know what I'm saying?
a lot of times the emotions are in place because one parent has hurt the other parent
Exactly.
at some point.
Right.
And so now you're dealing with you're trying to co-parent with someone that has hurt you or
Right.
someone that you have hurt.
And
You have
and
hurt.
the other side of
And
hate
that's
is
the
a
conflict.
broken heart.
Yeah.
The other side of hate is a broken heart.
Most definitely.
Now,
Yes.
some parents won't ridicule the father or the mother in front of the other kid. I think that's weak. I don't think that's weak. I
You
feel
talking about
like
in front of the kid?
yeah.
Yeah.
I and me personally, I feel like your mother is your carrier. Don't never put your mother over nobody. Like Pac say, even as a crack queen, even as a crack fiend mama, you always was the black queen. So me with my kids, I never put me over their mother. Never. Your mama always gonna be the number one primary. Always the number one factor. I'm daddy and I'm gonna be there, but I ain't gonna be like, you want to come stay with your daddy? That's weak. And I know guys like that. That's weak. But sometimes females get in their emotions and their feelings, and they'll ridicule the son or the daughter about the dad.
So,
Because the other side of
let's
hate-
let's
I don't know.
let's talk about that since you opened up that door.
Yeah.
Because I may think a little differently, but I want to hear you out.
Mhm.
So let's say
Mhm.
beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's probably best for one of your kids to stay with you.
Mhm.
How do you
If not all of them.
communicate that to the kids and to the person you're co-parenting with?
I will not communicate that with my kid. I
Okay.
will not. I will
Okay.
not. I will not.
Why you
corrupt-
said that?
Because it's wrong.
You saying for
For
you
me
to
to
tell your
communicate-
child that you think they should stay with you
That
is
is
wrong?
wrong.
Okay,
Okay,
explain it.
please
Why-
explain.
why you feel that?
Because he loves both of his parents. He
Mhm.
loves both of his parents, and then I don't want him to go back and tell what I said, and then he get whooped or get ridiculed or outcast because my daddy said that's why I need to stay with him. That's bullshit. Excuse my language. I don't think that's right. I think you should
Oh,
talk
now
to
if
her.
they taking it like
No.
that now,
What,
that's
so
different.
what if you have the discussion with the mom first?
Right.
I wouldn't have it with my kid. Period.
Really?
That's
At some
not-
point. So what if the mom
You
agrees?
gonna have to have a
So
conversation.
what if the mom
Yeah.
agrees? No, this is what I'm
The
saying.
mom agrees. We all on common ground. He's coming. He or
But-
she.
Yeah, but you
why do
still have
feel
to-
like it's so wrong to have that conversation with the child though.
It's corrupting them. It's making them pick sides. That's the hardest thing to do. They love both of y'all. The kids love mama and daddy because you.
But
No,
the
you're not
circumstance
asking them
a
to
little bit
choose.
different
You're
than
not
her house.
asking them to choose.
You know what I'm saying? It's not
Well,
choosing. It's just
Yeah, you're not
they might
asking
be
them to
better with
choose.
you.
No, but when you're telling your kid,
Mhm.
I feel like it's best for you to stay with me. That's asking them to choose without asking them to choose.
Oh, I wouldn't say tell them it's
No.
best for you to stay with me. I'm
That's
just
what y'all
saying,
just
have
said,
that
though.
conversation with them that you feel like it's better or safer or whatever the circumstances may be.
Like
It's better
they
to
not
go
gonna just wake
But you
up and
gotta
then
say,
you just
like, I wanna
they
try to
taking
take
all
you
their
for
clothes. You know
You
what I'm saying?
know
Like you gotta have a conversation with them, letting them know that there's gonna be a transition.
I would not have me personally. I will not have a conversation with my kids telling them it's best for them to come and stay with me. I just don't think so.
Take that wording out. How do you have the conversation with your kids if you and the mother has agreed? So how do you have the conversation with your child, letting them know
then it's
that
their
there's
cho-
about to be a transition?
then it's their choice. Now, okay, let's go daughter. Let's go son. I got 6 boys, 2
Okay.
girls.
Okay.
I really got 3 girls. One is in LA. Anyway, so boys, when they get to a certain age, they need to be with their father. If their father is conducting himself as a man. Now, if your daddy's still out here thug life and all that got you on harm's way, you need to be with your mom. Now, some kids, the ones that's neglected on both sides, that's why they're so street smart, because daddy don't want them or the mama don't want them. And it's safe for them at grandma's house. But those grandmas are extinct. Those kind of grandmas are extinct right now. Okay. So what I am saying is come and get your son. I can't do nothing with him. I'm coming. Now, the last place I had all my boys staying with me. Yeah. I don't post everything on Facebook because it's personal. I ran my house like a group home. I had rules in every room, in the bathroom, flush. They wanted to leave me because they said, "Mama, they got too many rules." Now, here's the thing: I'm the overseer. I'm the adult. You're just a kid now. You don't get to make all your decisions. You're gonna stay. You know, you're gonna stay because this is what's good for you. But at the same time, me and moms was on the same accord.
So you did have a conversation, but you and mom already
No.
had the conversation.
I had to put my foot down. Me and moms had a conversation because she couldn't do nothing with them.
Right,
So
right,
now
right.
it's best for a masculine male who has evolved
Mhm.
into this product, this model, this not even a role model, but the model of what a man's supposed to be. To put my feet in my pants, one leg at a time, go to work. They need to see this, whether the seed is planted, whether they with it or not. You see, daddy went from this position to this position.
Okay.
Okay. Now, see, one thing about a woman, when I get 14, 15, I'm faster than mama. I can run from the ass whooping from mama. I ain't gonna disrespect mama because I gotta see daddy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Right.
That's how it's supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, you need to be with your daddy. Now, that's not digressing what mama is saying, well, you want
But
to
you
be
don't
with your
say
mama.
that to them.
No.
Okay.
No.
You don't say you need
No.
to be with
Okay,
your
go
dad.
with the
No,
daughters.
no.
What about the daughters?
I can't speak on that because my daughters are my baby daughters are 6 and 3, so I can't really speak on
Oh, they
that.
still young.
Yeah. And 21.
Okay. Any
Okay.
comments? Any comments from anybody in the audience? Any thoughts around what we discussing? All right, my brother.
Come on up.
I can speak on that. We good? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you good. It's just in the headphones. It's normally on the speaker. But
I
Okay.
got you. I got you.
I've been on every aspect of what y'all spoke on.
Mhm.
Been a single parent. I've been the blended family. I've been the sole provider. I've had the co-parent.
Right.
What Neek said, I agree to a certain extent, but it's the same way. It's like when you're the father and you're outside the house, it's a trust problem there.
Mhm.
Because the woman is looking at it like, hey, well, he's coming every other weekend or such and such. How can he tell me how to raise this household?
Mhm.
So what I done in my situation, I said, hey, I'm just as equal as the mother. So I'm going to step in and I'm going to be here every day of the week.
Right.
So now we need to fight where, hey, I need to adjust my job where I'm here 3 days a week.
Mhm.
She can stay with me. Then we swap the weekends.
Right.
Now I'm building a trust. It's same thing, like you said, with the daughters. My daughter was young and mom was working and doing everything she could in her power. But I remember when my daughter was maybe about 8 years old and her mom was doing hair in the neighborhood and working at Roses. And my little girl told me, when I grow up, I'm gonna work at Roses, do hair. It's no shot against mom. She was doing the best she could.
Right.
But I knew I want you to own the Roses. I want you to own the salon.
Right.
So she needs to come with me now. You've
Right.
done your part.
Right.
Like he said with the son, when they get to a certain age, they go to the dad.
Right.
Well, I wanted to take my daughter to another level, but then I still included mom
So-
with that growth.
So let me ask you this: how did you have that discussion, or did you have that discussion with the child? And how did you have that discussion with the child? And did you have how did the discussion go with the mom?
And
Well,
what
the-
age was the child at that time?
She might have been about 7 or 8 when
Oh,
I first
7,
had it.
8, yeah.
The first time, I mean, her first response was, well, she's 8. You know, if you want to work at Roses, what if she's just 8? But I'm like, no, I got bigger dreams for her.
Right. Of course.
You know, and it's no shot with you at, but I see bigger than that.
Mhm.
So the same thing. She was sucking her thumb. I'm implementing rules of how we can work with this, but then she would go home and they wouldn't say nothing.
Mhm.
Well, so I said, okay, instead of me complaining and going over to mom and complaining, I need to step up. So I decided to say, hey, we're gonna do joint custody here.
Mhm.
That way I can't implement what I'm implementing every other weekend.
Nah, it ain't
Come
gonna
on,
work.
bro.
You see what I'm saying? So
on.
I had to step in and do that the right way. The same thing. I wasn't gonna speak to the child. By the time the child got it, she was crying at my house.
Mhm.
Well, I ain't going back to mommy. I done been over here all summer. Well, hey,
And
it's
at
the
that
way
age,
it
you
is.
don't understand.
Yeah, she
much
don't
of it.
understand. You see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
and in the beginning, yeah, mom did fight it, but ultimately, I was a leader, so she trusted it.
Right.
She didn't want to trust it in the beginning. You know, your father has been the leader in y'all family.
Mhm.
Do I trust it to this man? Especially when I didn't even find out the kid was mine until she was like 5.
And that's what I'm saying. Everybody's circumstance is a little different.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
With the age,
Absolutely.
I think that means a lot too.
It
But-
steps in.
And
what you
then
call
for
building
some
that.
mothers, it can feel like failure.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
So
It-
they don't want to relinquish that
Yeah.
control because it makes them feel like they
Well,
failed.
the biggest thing is that I knew I couldn't just take her and do what mom done.
Mm,
There's no way possible.
right.
So I had to keep mom included. I'm stepping up. I'm not taking her from you. We're doing this together.
Yeah.
If we was in the same house, don't make a difference, fellas. Mom is going to be a little sweeter than dad anyway in the house.
Mhm.
So it don't make a difference because she across
I
town.
disagree with
You
you.
see what I'm
Not your
saying?
house.
Yeah. If she's across town, it's no different.
Nah, I
You
feel
see
right.
what I'm saying? We still got to do the same things. It's no different than when they saying, I didn't want to be the guy that you call me every time it's discipline.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm
Right.
going to call you daddy. You know
Let
what
me
I mean?
ask you
Dad
a
is on the
question. How
field.
did you go about making the transition of her coming to stay with you? You went through the courts, or y'all had a
I went
conversation
through the
and worked it
courts.
out?
I went through the courts.
So you went and filed a motion.
Yeah.
You did all that.
I went and
on your
filed a
own.
motion. We
Did you have
went.
to put yourself on child support, or was child support even in the equation?
I ended
you just
up
filed
getting
a
the child support, but then once I got the joint and we went cussing, I said, "You keep that money.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about that money." And then, like I said, my circumstance was different. I was already raising 3 kids by myself.
Let me ask you this: Did y'all work that out in mediation, or did the judge?
We worked it out in mediation.
Yeah. See, a lot of people can't work it out in mediation, and that's another conflict too. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
but it's
yeah,
good it
but-
happened for you. You know what I mean?
But I will say, if you go into mediation with a
With an
a
open mind, you can
and-
come
yeah,
out
Both
yeah,
parents now.
yeah,
both
that's what I'm
parents.
saying. That's what I'm saying.
because
yeah.
here's the thing: mediation is telling you, hey, if y'all can't agree and they go to a judge, somebody's gonna lose.
Yeah, somebody's gonna lose. So you might as well work it out here.
So we need to fight in this room together.
And it's gonna cost a whole lot
Exactly.
more. So the process is you file a motion, and then it goes into mediation.
Mhm.
And if you can work it out in the mediation, then you have a court order, an official court order of
Right.
how you're supposed to co-parent.
Mhm.
If you can't work it out in mediation, then you have to go before the judge. That's when it can get a lot more ugly, definitely a lot more expensive,
Mhm.
and one parent is going to win and one is going to basically.
Exactly.
See, my
basically
situation was a
lose.
little different. I don't want to get too personal, but with mine, the reason I didn't have to go through the courts is because
That was good, bro.
I had stuff. Yeah, thank you, brother.
Appreciate you, man.
I had my kids enrolled in school. I had them set up with their doctor's office. I had them set up with every single thing on paperwork. So it's not custody, but it's primary parent. You know what I'm saying? So they gave me the title of primary parent because I had evidence and receipts that the kids live with me, that I had them enrolled in school. I had them doing so much stuff, the doctors, everything. So where I got everything transferred for us, food stamps, Medicaid, child care, transportation, you name it. I got everything like a woman got. You know what I'm saying? But that's just my situation. So I didn't have to go through
I commend
court.
you
know
for
what I'm
that too,
saying?
and as
Yeah, for
well
sure.
as you,
Fact.
bro.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
commend y'all for that.
So, but then when the mother comes back in the picture and try to fight once her circumstances changes, then that's when the conflict plays out. You know what I'm saying? Because I drop them off, then you want to keep them extra time, or you don't really want to give them back and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So that's why when you say you don't have a conversation with your kids, I do, because those are the only people I can communicate with, because me and the mother don't really communicate like that. You know what I'm saying? And that's just my situation. You know what I mean? So everybody's situation,
every situation is a little different,
and
yeah.
sometimes you need to walk the kids through what's going on.
And I had to
Because
learn it.
Yeah, like they just see what they see and they don't understand
They don't
what they
understand.
see.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you have to walk them through it. We have some comments.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. So Purvis, he says, I definitely agree. It shouldn't be made a situation with the child. It's between you and the mother. Malik says,
Right.
though the kids will be in the blind. Purvis also said the child should be able to make their own decisions of where they want to be. Malik Good Bob says, depending on the ages of the kids. Dante, he says he disagrees with passing off to the dad when the mom can't handle it.
He disagrees.
Mm-hmm.
There's Dante.
Dante,
Dante?
Danielle.
I'll
Yeah,
That ain't
Dante.
that. I'm not saying
Dante.
what say that.
Dante will disagree.
No.
I don't get it. He
Hey,
must
yo,
have missed the
his
question.
page must be hacked.
He says,
Well,
I
no,
disagree
I-
with passing off to the dad
Yeah.
when mom can't handle.
Yeah, I think like once I think what he's saying is mom parents a certain way. And now the child is getting out of hand. So now
Yeah.
I'm just throwing them off on dad. Now I'm throwing what is quote unquote a problem or a situation onto dad. Now, of course, a person like you is going to be willing to accept that. But I think what he's saying is
I
he
feel
don't
like
think
can't
that's
nobody.
fair. They should be they should probably have equal opportunity to pour into their child before that child becomes a problem. I think that's what Dante
Oh,
was
you're
saying.
talking about like if it's a problem, when it becomes a problem.
Right,
Type of thing. Okay.
right.
Right.
that-
But
right.
until somebody's been through that, I mean, of course, we can speak on it. We're talking about conversations that matter. But until you've been through that, you have no idea that the son is becoming a monster in his household.
Now that's different. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Every
Now,
situation
yeah,
is different.
yeah,
for sure.
every situation is different.
That's a
yeah.
fact.
Now, if the child becoming a problem, that's a whole different problem.
Well, yeah, mom, and even if he's not becoming a problem, if he needs to be with me, and because I'm showing that the respectful, productive, reliable, responsible man that he's supposed to be with, he needs to be with me. If mama said he needs to be with me for any reason, he needs to be with me. And
See,
until
I
you
like-
get a son
see,
that
you,
age,
you speak off of, you still give that mother that control too. Still,
well, yes,
Well, what
because
you said from the
that's
first
the
time, right?
carrier. That's the carrier. See,
Yeah,
one thing
yeah.
about me, and I'm done off this one right here. You gotta, and this is I was a child one time. My parents, they in the audience.
shout out to Mama Davis, Papa
Shout out to
Davis.
Mama
Hey.
Davis. They separated one time. My daddy never ever told us like I want y'all with me. And I know he did, but it was how we felt around him. He talked with his feelings. Tender love and care. Sometimes we ain't want to go back. We lived good at mama house too, but my daddy never talked about the boyfriend, never exposed us to his girlfriend. A child was in a child's place, and we had fun when we was with dad. You know what I'm saying? But he never put us in grown folks' business. Nah.
But you went in a situation at Mama house where it was unsafe, or
I could have been.
Could have
Yes,
been.
yes.
And he still didn't have the
and at
conversation.
times, yes.
Right,
At
right,
times, yes.
but you
So-
still feel like
so would
no
you have
matter the
wanted him to be
circumstance-
more aggressive?
Huh?
as
No,
a-
no,
as-
no,
as-
no.
as the other
No,
the other parent.
I wanted him to do just what he did, tender love and care. Because I wasn't in harm's way. I wasn't in harm's way. It was just, he had that tender love and care that we yearned for. And he had that understanding because he was a man's man, not to put the child in what they were going through. You know what I'm saying? That what
But you said both of them did that though.
yeah, mom's his mom.
Yeah,
You
for sure.
already know.
Go ahead with the next.
Okay. Dante said he does agree and fully support a custody agreement. Malik said most couples don't agree on things. Dante also said judges hate choosing. We have Brian. Men have just as much rights as women.
That's
Don't
a
be
fact.
afraid
Not
to
in North
get the
Carolina,
custody
though.
agree.
That's
No,
a fact.
they really do.
Yeah,
They
we
really
do.
do.
You
In
just
North,
don't-
Car-
you
in North
gotta know. You
Carolina,
gotta
the
educate
state
yourself.
owns your kid.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we
So-
do. Yeah,
so-
for sure.
so my
What's up, brother?
personal experience with my son, I got joint custody. I went through the court system and got official joint custody.
You filed the
And-
motion?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. And so that's when I found out that we really do have just
Yeah.
as much rights. And I wish I had known that with my daughter years ago when I was younger with my daughter, but I didn't. But we really do, guys. Like
Yeah,
we
we
really do
definitely
have
do.
just as much
We
rights.
definitely do.
It may cost us a little something,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying, to go through the court system to actually get our rights exercised. But it was the best money I ever spent.
Yeah,
It was the best money I ever spent because I was able to have equal time with my child and I was able to pour into my child just as much.
Let me ask you a question. Before you got there, it was harder for you to see your child at that time?
No.
Oh, y'all still
She-
was
she-
communicating, working it out?
So this situation was out of a marriage.
Okay.
So we got divorced and we both had an understanding.
So y'all did have
So
understanding.
yeah,
at
we
one
did have
point.
an understanding and it went fairly smoothly, but I just felt like, I needed to make it official.
You need that security, like let
Yeah,
me make it official.
Yeah.
Super.
So that's what we did.
Go ahead.
Sincere Warren, he has a question. He says, how do you get to mediation if one parent has already taken a child and refusing to give the child back?
You can still file a motion.
Lawyer,
You can still file a motion.
lawyer.
You can file a motion by itself, can't you?
Yeah, I don't recommend it because they'll eat you
'Cause
up.
Well, when
It's
you
like
file a
going to
motion,
child
you get a
support.
public offender.
It's
You
too,
know what I mean?
listen, when you're dealing with kids, I do not recommend you representing yourself.
Oh no, don't represent
You know what I'm
yourself,
saying?
but file the motion.
Yeah, you can file a
Yeah.
motion, but I think it looks when you have a lawyer involved.
Oh, most definitely.
When your, you know what I mean? I just feel like that's an investment and it's worth paying a lawyer, but I recommend anybody going to a lawyer to
Go
file
ahead,
the
go ahead.
paperwork and get that done.
I think one of our issues here, and I've seen it a lot with a lot of young men, we think automatically the mother has to be a bad parent for us to even get that right.
Get that, yeah. To use our
They don't have to.
Definitely.
It's
Come on,
not
bro.
to the point that they have to be unfit for us to step in.
No, not at all.
Exactly.
You
Nah.
can go
You get your
downtown.
right
You
as
can
a
go
father.
downtown to the courthouse and get visitation without a lawyer.
That's what I'm saying.
You can just walk down there to UG 54 and say, "Hey, I'm gonna write this form up. Long as you available to say I can do it Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I can be there from 6 to 9. It can happen."
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
we have those
You-
rights. We
yeah,
actually
you
got
can-
better rights in North
you-
Carolina
you
than
can-
we
that's
have.
what I'm
you
saying.
can definitely get visitation, but I challenge brothers to go a step further. Now, I am all in favor of visitation, but go a step further and fight for joint custody.
And I was speaking from that man. Come back up, Ash. Who was that? That was
Test.
he was asking us a
I'm
question. on-
sorry, that's a lady. I'm
Oh, it's a
sorry,
lady.
but
Oh,
yeah.
okay. But hold on.
She-
She was asking a question.
Yeah.
Say that one more time.
She said, how do you get to a mediation if one parent has already taken a child and refusing to give the child back?
She could be talking about somebody like a son.
Yeah, I don't know, lawyer.
Gene saying lawyer,
Lawyer.
but I say like Doc said, just you got to file a motion, go down to what's that courtroom? What's the room?
On that UG 54.
UG 54. Good old UG 54, and file for some visitation rights. So just exercise your rights. Period. You know.
And G, on
Ye-
the
yes, sir.
notion, you take it a step further. You already
It's
know
out.
the visitation is easy to get joint custody.
I agree. I agree.
Test.
There we go. There we go.
You're
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna go ahead with the rest of the comments. Then I'm gonna go to the next one.
All right. So James Smith, there comes a time when the father definitely needs to be the one implementing structure, especially in sons' lives, because they will start to get over on the mother. Ashley Good, kids are doing a
So
lot
can
of
I
adulting.
speak to that really
Mhm.
quickly? So I think that puts the father at a disadvantage. I think that if I'm establishing structure
Mhm.
and then they go to mom and mom is not on the same page with that structure, then it's almost like they're going, 2 steps forward and then 3 steps backwards. So I think parents have to figure out, or we have to figure out, how do we do this co-parenting thing? How can we get on the same page? And I think both parents have to, they definitely have to be on the same page when it comes to some things. And I think structure is one of those things. Go
this
ahead, bro.
this is the last thing. I don't
the
think
last
it's-
thing was the
right,
last
right, right,
thing,
right,
but this is the
right.
last thing.
I don't think it's a disadvantage for the man. Simple fact. I don't think it's a disadvantage for the man. Simple fact. Okay, you got your set of rules at
Mhm.
your house.
Mhm,
He goes to mama's house and does what he want.
mhm.
Mama done gave him so much rope. He done took it. You give him an inch, he done took him out. Now mama can't do nothing with him. So now mama calling you, telling you you need to come and get your son, but you didn't. She's the reason why your son's like this. Just
No, I'm
follow me.
following. I'm following.
So I can't be like, no, you get him. It's your fault. I just got to man up.
yeah,
and
no,
undo
no,
what
no,
she
no,
did.
no, 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 no.
And
We
undo
got
what she did.
bro.
So it's not a disadvantage. You
Bro.
got to man up.
Dominique.
No,
if
no,
I
no.
if
It's-
if
that's
I
what he was
if I
saying, I
if I'm
believe.
racing somebody and we're 100 meters and they start 20 meters ahead of me, I'm still going to go hard.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we are letting moms off the hook sometimes for being or implementing and exercising structure. Like they have to play a part
What
in
if she didn't
exercising
have
structure as
structure?
well. Bro, I didn't either until I did. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like we can't let either parent off the hook. Just like we can't let either parent off the hook when it comes to feeding. Like I had to learn how to cook because I have to feed my child. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't be like, well, nah, the mom is more nurturing and she should be the one feeding. Like, nah. If we're dividing this child, then we have to be able to provide the main foundational things for our kids. And structure should be implemented and exercised on both ends.
I agree.
No doubt.
Okay, so Ashley says kids are doing a lot of adulting these days. Let's set boundaries. Who's making the decisions, the parents or children? Let's communicate who's putting the adult decisions into play. And also a question, you have girls, you have boys. Do you find it more easier to allow the mother to set the rules, the structure, or however for the girl, and the fathers place more of that on the boys?
Man,
think
I
that-
had a tomboy. My
Well-
daughter was a tomboy.
But I think with whoever the main household is, I think that's where the rules probably implement first. That's just yeah, I think so. If you stand with mom 24/7, or if you stand with the father 24/7, whatever household they're at, I think that's where the rules begin. and then boundaries start from there. You know what I'm saying? If the other parent disagrees with certain things, because it's obvious reasons. And now if you just emotional and you just saying, I don't like the way you do this, she shouldn't be eating that much. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like safety and harm's way. You know what I'm saying? The upbringing, like my man said, he wanted to raise as an entrepreneur to do the right things, not just following mommy to Roses and be an employee at Roses. There ain't nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying, as a man, you might be on another. It ain't even just saying a man, as a parent, because I don't want to be gender, whatever. But as a parent, you might feel like your child should be raised this way. They should be learning this way. Just think if you think your child should be in private school, but they like public school. You know what I'm saying? Or the certain issues they have in their school, but the child discussing to the parents about, but they not doing nothing about it. You like, look, my child don't need to go to that school no more. So those are things that I'm talking about as far as the conflict of communication, because a lot of times that, like Gene say, that those conversations are not being had because there's a lot of emotions and feelings involved. So the kid is left out there. But like Dominique said, you got to put the kid first in anything. And communication is the key. You got to have a conversation. I disagree. I think I would have a conversation with my child.
Respectful communication.
Respectfully, I think, because my kids at a young age, they
I
teenagers.
respect that.
So at a certain age, I'm like, look, they might know. They might look, I don't want to be over here. You know what I'm saying? So as a man, go ahead.
Wouldn't it be beneficial to have these types of conversations with the other parent prior to the child even arriving?
Of course, and the ideal.
That's definitely
like,
ideal.
Yeah, that's why we
For
having
sure.
this conversation.
But we about to go there too. That's why I'm about to switch it up. Was that all the comments for the first one? Okay, so let's go to the next one, which is y'all want to go blended families or single parenting? Pick one.
Hey, let's keep
Let's
it
go
going.
blended families.
Blended families. Okay, so blended families. What role does? Let me go with this one. How can parents foster a sense of belonging and unity among step siblings who may come from different backgrounds? What are some effective strategies for managing potential conflicts and differences in parenting styles within a blended family? So let me break it down and unpack it a little bit. So when you're blending a family, one parent has kids, the other parent has kids. What conversations need to be had? Gene, I know you're ready to pick up the mic, but I want to go to the order. Go to the orders on this. What conversations need to be had before y'all take that step as a blended family? Because you already passed the prior relationships. Everybody has a kid now, but y'all dating, y'all feeling each other. The emotions are running, the feelings are running, and y'all ready to take it to a next step. What conversation do y'all feel need to be had before y'all take that step when it comes to the kids in the blended family? You got it?
Put your hands on my kid.
Boy, that's one of the number ones. But I want my kid.
You guys, you said talk.
Yes,
Can y'all
ma'am.
hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so when me and my husband first got together,
Mhm.
when we were first dating, we were talking about how we both discipline our children. I'm the more laid back parent.
Okay.
He's the more disciplinary one. So when we got together, he still was the leader, but he still allowed me to implement some certain things as well. So that worked out for us as well, but he still remained the leader. He still remains the leader to this day, but I'm still the kind of sort of laid back parent, but he's still the
Like a
leader.
passive one. He goes, yeah, you let it slide or whatever. He like, no. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So it worked. That's how we implemented ours. We did talk about it in the beginning though. So,
Okay.
but when we moved together, it was still a little rocky because his children was used to doing chores. My children weren't used to doing chores.
Oh, so he had to fight you to provide structure for them.
Right. But
Yeah.
it worked. I mean,
I've
it
been
worked
there.
because even when we were dating, I would tell him to allow my daughter to do chores as well with his daughter. You see what I'm saying? So that way she wouldn't feel left out.
So you kind of bought into it.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did.
It's all good. It's all good. So what you think, Gene?
About their situation or just in general?
No, with the main question I was asking. What
Blended
conversation
family.
need to be had before you take
Yeah,
that step?
I definitely think how you structure everything. The discipline, I think, is at the top of the list. Because you may feel like it's okay to talk a certain way or to even be physical. and the other parent may not feel that way. Definitely not about their kids. And then you have to factor in, okay, is the other parent active, and how do they feel about me disciplining their kids? So I think you have to have those conversations. I think you need to talk about, what support looks like. Because I'm taking you on, I assume that I assume your responsibilities.
Right.
So now I'm financially supporting these kids. What does that look like? Should I, if I feel like I shouldn't purchase something and their father should purchase something, are we going to fight?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think all of those things need to be discussed, because you should know what's what.
Yeah, most definitely.
What you
Go ahead,
got, bro?
That was my wife just finished talking. So just the flip side, so you can hear the male's version of that. I came in, like I said, I was already a single parent. So
Right.
she already had a son and 2 daughters.
Mhm.
The son was right around about 18, 19 years old. The daughter was in dance, all in Charlotte, so they traveled a lot. I had respect for the children.
Mhm.
So before she decided to move from Charlotte to here, I'd already spoke to the daughter.
Mhm.
How do you feel about coming out of dance, moving to Greensboro?
How old was the daughter at that time?
I think she was maybe 14.
So she was a teenager. Okay.
Yeah,
So
I
you
said, how
felt
do you
comfortable having
feel?
that conversation.
Yeah,
with
because
her, right.
I didn't want the situation of your mother loves me and we're working out, but we're not taking into account how you feel.
Mm.
Because I don't want her to get here, live here, and 6 months later, she's like, Mom, you pulled me out of dance to go live with this dude down here in Greensboro.
Right.
And the son was different. He came out. First thing I said to him when we talked, I said, listen, I understand you've been the man of the house here. You've been controlling things and handling things. I'm here now.
Mhm.
Give me the opportunity to do this.
Right.
I'm
Right.
going to love your mother and treat her with respect. If you see I can't do that, you can step back in your role. But right now, I got this role.
Mhm.
He respected it. Those kids, man.
Let me ask you a question. Did you have a conversation with their mother first before you had it with them, or you just took it upon yourself to have a conversation with the kids because you want to know how they felt about the move?
Well, let's go back to what Gene said earlier. When I was 21, I'd done things different.
Mhm.
But at 47, I do things different now.
Right.
So coming in from the get-go, I didn't play around from day one.
Mhm.
5 days into the phone call, I'm ready to be exclusive.
Mhm.
I'm
Gotcha.
telling you, I'm ready to be exclusive.
Right,
I'm
right.
telling you, I'm ready to lead this family.
Right,
This
right,
is what
right.
I'm doing.
Yeah.
So
for
I'm
sure.
not only saying it, I'm showing it by example.
Yeah.
So
for
by
sure.
the time I talk to the kids, she's back like, this dude is really a leader here.
Yeah. for
So
sure.
how old was her son?
He was like 18, 19 years
a
old.
little bit older than the daughter.
So what if he been like, nah, I ain't feeling you, like,
Well,
or
I can
ain't
give you a
feeling
little
that.
secret here, Gene.
I already know.
Let me explain it to you.
Now,
Let
let
me
me
explain it
explain.
to you. So
Let him explain.
So I'm a member of Abundant Life. I wear a lot of khakis and some dress down shoes most of the time. But we went out on a date. I went to Charlotte, and this special night, I decided to put on my black Timberlands and pull up in some black jeans. So and we laugh about it to this day. He said, man, when she said you was coming, I thought it was gonna be a guy with a button down and some slacks on. But when I came out and see you in them black Timbs, I said, oh Lord, she got a man here. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we went outside.
So now we saying guys in button ups and slacks of phone.
I ain't saying
Is that
that.
what we
Okay.
I'm
saying?
not saying that.
Okay.
But
Listen now.
man, I'm not saying that at all. But with young men have a thing, especially when they've been protective of their mother. They want to see another man pull up. They don't want to see a man coming. He's timid. They don't want to see
I
nothing.
think that's in the energy.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered what you had on, bro.
Well,
Your energy is a man's energy.
Well, here's the problem. I had a button up, but
Yeah, no, I'm
I
just
didn't tie the
saying.
Timbs up
Yeah,
on purpose.
Because I don't want guys to think they gotta dress a
No.
certain way. You know what I'm saying? For other men
sure.
to feel like they're men.
No, you just gotta be
Like,
yourself.
It wasn't
Like,
to the
it's your energy, bro.
his whole demeanor with his dad and everything. Like I said, I'm not diminishing the dress, but it was more so to say, hey, he had been used to those type of men that she's dated, and he didn't have respect. So I was like, let me come different. Let me talk. Look at me first, and then we talk. Once we got to talking, this is all in the same night. So he's basically like, oh, so the rest of the week, I'm in my slacks and stuff. But we've created that I approached him as a man. I didn't approach him like, this is just your son. I treated him as a man.
As a man. Yeah, you respected him.
And that's what it is.
And like you said, you gave him that respect. You were the man of the household.
Yeah.
I'm hearing that. You can relax. You know what I'm
But
saying?
the same thing she said, once we got to Greensboro, my daughter automatically knew I got to do the dishes. I got to do this. She was telling me, Dad, I mean, I ain't got nothing to do. She doing everything in the house.
Mhm.
I was like, well, calm down. And she was like, well, you need to tell my daughter to do some of the stuff. So I was a little more timid with the daughter. But once we got to it, we got to
Ain't it a
man.
blessing when they buy into what
When they
you're trying
buy
to do?
into it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
When the
When
other
they-
partner buys into
when
it,
they
it makes
buy
it easier
into
to implement things. with
And
the
and
kids.
that comes from what y'all guys said earlier. Like I said, I was already a single parent. And my thing is that I'm gonna make the final decision, but I always allow my children to speak.
Mhm.
I give them the floor. We can talk, we can discuss
And you gotta
anything.
listen to them as well.
Exactly. So her kids came in and saw that and was like, man, he just seems like he let them speak freely and do it. So it blended, man. It blended
was
so
good.
well.
But I know it's somebody else out here. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
But anybody it didn't work for
Anybody have a horror story?
with blended families, with trying to blend it and it didn't work that well. The kid was rebellious. The mother didn't want you talking to him, or the father didn't want you talking to the kids like that.
Or the
whatever.
mama wants you to, the mama try to argue with you in front of the oldest son. You got to
Right.
get your scrap.
Right.
Man, listen, like,
Right.
what you doing, man?
My name is Corey D. McCann. I bring you greetings and honor. No, I'm just playing, man. What's going on, team? What's going on, Will? What's up, Lee? What's going on, bro?
Corey, y'all. Give him a Corey.
So, now, Dr. Blackman, to your point, as far as having that type of story, I actually was the byproduct of that type of story. So when my mom, when she remarried my stepdad, I was 13 at that time. And so initially when he came into the picture, it was all roses and butterflies because for 13 years of my life, I had an absentee father. And now here comes this man. It was my mother's high school sweetheart. You know, he came in, they started courting, and then subsequently they got married. And here I am now. I have a dad in the house, something I had longed for my entire life.
Did
You
you
know
call
what I'm
him
saying?
daddy?
I did.
Okay.
Eventually, yeah.
I did
Okay.
eventually, you know what I'm
Okay.
saying? And so initially our relationship was great. You know, our avenue was the nuance of sports because he was a big basketball, football fan.
That's
I
how
was
y'all
a
bonded.
that's how we bonded initially. Well, you know, my stepdad, now keep this in mind, him and my mom, you know, both of them are old school. They're from Birmingham, Alabama. They're Jim Crow survivors. So they came up in a different fabric. You know what I'm saying? They were old school. So I say that to say, you know, his regime, if you will, chores, doing things around the house. And eventually he started ruling with an iron fist. And so again, initially, you know, it was all roses and everything, but I know that my mom and my stepdad at the time, they never had that conversation. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, as aforementioned, they come from a different fabric. It was just like, it is what it is. There was no such thing as conversations. There was no such thing as civility between said parent and child.
Like
And so-
Dominique says, child stay in a child place.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, it actually crashed and burned. You know what I'm saying? I eventually had to end up living with my oldest sister, you know, from my sophomore year to my senior year in high school. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, my mom, she actually ended up moving back to Alabama with him.
With him.
Yeah. And so, I mean, we get along now. Since then, you know, we've had that conversation as adults. And fortunately, he and I, we were able to
They
reconcile
still
that
together?
before he went back. You know what I'm saying? I'm 16 years old, you know, at that time, having this conversation with him about reconciliation. But now that I think about it, some 20 years later, you know, to you all's point, it is important to have that conversation because I know we bring up the subject right now about having a conversation, but a lot of people, they still don't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
exactly.
Because they just assume I'm parent and this is just what it's going to be.
Right.
But I just tell people, I just come to say that it is important to actually have that conversation. And if at all possible, if the child has some degree of maturation, try to make that child inclusive. They don't have to be inclusive with everything. You know what I'm saying? But bring it in with love. Bring it in with love. So I'm a byproduct of that. So, you know, to your point, Gene, like I know how that is. And so it's just important to have that conversation, no matter what your fabric of communication is.
Let me ask you this, Corey, while you up there. Do you feel like establishing new family traditions and routines in a blended family can help? Or because you know, at first everybody's stuck to their own traditions and their own
Mhm.
ways and how they raise their kids. But when you come together, do you feel like if you create new traditions and new routines in your blended family, that can kind of help and everybody kind of put away their old way of living and kind of come together on some new traditions and routines?
I do believe that can happen. I believe that can come to fruition so long as there's the avenue of respect. So I feel that using strategies and methods like reverse psychology at first, like I said, when he first came in, you know, our avenue of bonding was sports. So if he wanted me to, like, you know, I wasn't used to no hardcore chores or anything like that because it was, you know, just my mother and now my oldest sibling who was a full live adult at that time. You know what I'm saying? So when he came in, he was like, man, you know, like, come on, let's rate these leagues and then we're going to shoot basketball real quick or something like that. And so that new tradition, to your point, was actually doing chores around the house and doing things around the house. You know what I'm saying? And he implemented the avenue of prayer because, like I said, my mother and I at the time, you know, we weren't real religious people per se. But when he came in, he kind of ushered in that avenue as well. So to answer your question definitively, yes, I do believe that it can be done, but I just believe that respect should be the X factor. You shouldn't do it with an iron fist.
Respect and love.
Oh, yeah, for
Respect
sure,
and
for
love.
sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Everybody's on their best behavior in the interview. So, you know,
And
all that's going to take time, though.
For sure.
Everybody on their best
Hey,
behavior.
it's communication and time. I feel
Gotcha.
like time,
Gotcha.
it has to run its
I
course.
have a question. Neat. Let me ask you this, bro. Have you ever dated someone who did not have kids and allowed them to interact with your kids? And how much room did you give them for pouring and impacting and possibly disciplining your kids?
Well, chastising verbally, you know, you see him doing something, you see the homie slipping, you pick him up. But at the same time, with my boys, my daughter's too young, so I don't want to. When I say stand in child's place, just let me clear this up. I don't want to expose grown-up situations to a child.
Absolutely.
Okay, so stand in child's place, that's kind of vulgar, you know, especially at this time and age. But for that, me and my boys, 26, 20, 20, 19, 17, 16, we all get together and I talk to them about this new situation. You know, that it ain't they stepmama, it's my significant other. You know what I'm saying? So we'll talk about, we already have a game plan because I refuse to let something foreign come in and split our bond up. You know what I'm saying? So I've never had that backlash from the significant other. She loved them if they were there. If my kids were her kids, all of them. But me and my kids communicate about her, not in front of her at first. See, my kids, we grew up together. I had my first son when I was 17, so me and my kids grew up together. So we got that bond now. I mean, ain't no friend, ain't no brother, ain't no cool.
Right, you still the overseer.
Right, that's a fact. You know,
I got you.
right?
I got you.
So anyway, yeah, make a long story short, yeah, we talk about it amongst each other first. Then I'm like, listen, show her some love. She nervous, and she might just feel so at home and yeah, you know.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. Got you. How about you, brother Will?
What was the question again? Give it to me. So
Have you ever dated someone who did not have kids, and how much room do you give them to help with your kids, being that they've never had kids before?
having kids or not, it's about the person. I feel like, and how serious we are. If we serious enough to where I allow you to come around the kids, then I feel like they should assume some kind of responsibility. If she's going to be around them as an adult, not saying she has to be taking care of them, but say if she's taking them to the park, or I got to run down and she at the house with them or something like that, then I feel like, you know, you got to be careful with that. You got to know that person for who they are, because you're giving them a big responsibility. You know what I'm saying? So you got to definitely be careful. But I would have that conversation first too, and I wouldn't put that on
with your kids.
With that woman.
With the woman
Yeah,
first.
with the woman. Oh, also with the kids as well.
Mhm.
But like you, me and my kids got a bond. So it's more like, and kids tricky. Like my kids is more like they love their father. So they'll just, you could be sitting on the couch and they'll come sit between you type of thing. You know what I'm saying?
You got them girls,
Yeah,
boy.
yeah.
You got them girls.
Yeah.
They're not
So,
playing.
you know, it's certain things that's gonna be a little different. You know what I'm saying? But to answer your question, I feel like I would allow them to come around. Just depends on the person themselves, and we just have to have that conversation. Go ahead, Trav.
Big Trap, what up, though?
What's going on, y'all? Chef Gilmore in the building. Yeah, I was just saying, I just feel like you would know what person that you want your kids to be around You know what I'm saying? As
Most
far as the energy, because you will know when you building a bond with that woman or that man, be like, okay, I can sort of let them get a little inside, you know what I'm saying, of my kid's life. But I just feel like if you know that woman or that man, then the energy, you be like, oh no, I ain't finna have him around my kids. You know what I'm saying?
Most
But if you know, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just as simple.
Dope.
Energy.
I'm glad you brought that up because we're going into step parents. I'll let Terrence Bob give it up for Terrence, y'all.
Yeah.
This is the first time-
Like, this is a legend. About to
Legend,
grab the
legend,
mic right now.
What's
Go ahead,
up,
bro.
brother?
What's up, brother?
Nah, so it's a couple of things I want to start off. Going back to the horror stories. So I stepped from the mic when you said horror story because I ain't have any personal story. But then I said, no, I do have. And I think sometimes when we think about blended family, we think about children.
Yeah.
But what about blended families when we're adults?
Mhm.
So when I thought about blended family when we're adults, I was not trying to blend with no man that wanted to talk to my mother.
Mm.
I was an adult.
You was that son.
So yeah, so
I
I mean,
feel you.
but I'm an
I feel
adult, you
Yeah,
know.
you're
So
an
I'm
adult.
not, you're not no child. You know, I'm a grown man, so I'm looking at a grown man. I don't know your thoughts, so I ain't really care to blend. Like I remember coming to the house and he said, "Hey, he did Mr. Such and Such speak to him." I was like, just kept walking. I ain't even giving no greetings. I can
Right.
care less, right?
Yeah.
Then my father got married,
Not the
but he ain't,
Baptist Muslim.
yeah. My father got married. He didn't tell me and my brother. He met him, got married. And I was like, okay, that's nice. That's your wife. And that was my mind. That's your wife. And my mother is still alive. So that's your wife. I'm grown.
Mhm.
So I never had, you know, personally, I was just like, that's your wife. You know, we were respectful, nice. Hey, how you doing? But it wasn't like, come on, let's be this family because I'm already grown. So I
Right.
have to grow up in that. But I think on the first part of the question, there are a lot of things that sometimes we take for granted when we do
Mhm.
blended families. So sometimes we may not be of the same faith, but we can work together. But when you start thinking with the children, what are you going to grow the children up in?
Right.
You know, so if you believe a certain way and this child is not believing, what do you believe? Well, you may be eating a certain way, and you're not eating to what y'all can cook in the house.
Exactly.
They may have a father, they have a mother. How are they engaging? You know, do you get to pick them up or do you go pick them up? You know, who has that? Or y'all go together? So a lot of those things happening because if you don't deal with those questions and don't deal with those realities, those problems happen. Because once you start living together, it's one thing to be dating somebody and then, you know, but once you start living together, your habits that you got in your home, your dietary, your faith, your religion, is easy when you just dating. You just, okay, you apart, you got your world, you got their world, like you said, but blending it, you have to have those, like you said, conversations matter.
Yeah.
You have to have those deep conversations because now that child's going to be grown up into this household. And what do you both believe? What do you both want to instill in that child?
They can be
So
confused.
let me ask you a question
Mhm.
about your first comment,
Mhm.
being an adult and not being the most receptive and blending with who your parents accepted
Right.
to be with. Has that changed at all, any, or you still kind of like?
No, I mean it. So my father, you gotta understand, they're 80. So
Mr. Johnny riding that bike over grandma. I got a friend coming over.
no. So they're 80. So my father married. You know, he had his wife after my mother. You know, like I said, that happened. I was like, okay, nice, but she passed on. He hasn't met anyone else, so it's not a big deal. My mother's old. I don't see anybody right. But I was coming up, you know, college age. That age was different. But right now it's like, okay, that's nice because you're not thinking she's older. So you're not thinking the young, like, who this man trying to with my mother. It's a different mindset. So now it's like, oh, y'all going to go church together. You know, you're not thinking the concept is different.
Yeah.
Right? So the blended family out there, okay, cool. Y'all ain't got much more time. It's a different reality. But I think that, like you said, it's very difficult to move on when your children, especially at that time, I was still at the house. So you trying to come talk to somebody, I don't know you. I don't want to know you.
Right.
And I think that's the reality, like especially young boys watching their mother. And it's also what kind of man are you bringing around? And I think that plays in the blended family. What kind of men or women are our children being exposed to?
Right.
So are these good women, good men? So it makes it difficult when they're not good ones, you know, or they come in, they are the disciplinary. They want to be very strict when they didn't have that with their father. They didn't have that with their mother, but somebody's coming to institute a whole new law, a whole new rule in the household.
And like you said, a rule. And then it's a whole different narrative is in If you have a blended family, who's moving in whose house?
Y'all need
You
to
know what I'm
get your
saying?
own house.
Check it out. Check it out.
That's a problem.
Check it
I'ma
out.
tell
Check it
you,
out. Check it out.
if one has to move into the other one, the one you moving into gonna have
It's
more
gonna have the
control
more
than
control.
the one moving in.
But shouldn't they?
It's already established.
Should they or should they not?
I think it should be fair ground, but ideally, like Gene says, it's not gonna happen. The
I don't
person,
think-
if the
don't
woman
don't,
move
don't
in
let
your
no
house,
man
you
come
gonna
stay
have
with
more
y'all
rules.
women. Don't
Your
let no
rules
man
gonna
come
still
stay
be in
with
effect.
y'all.
If a woman go move in with you, or vice versa, is whoever house they move into, I feel like
Nine
it's gonna
times out
have
of
more
10.
rules.
I think it depends on the individuals and their mindset and their maturity around blending.
Man, if that woman used to her house looking that way, and them kids come in there and start doing differently, it's gonna be a problem.
Let me say this one. Okay, real quick. Real quick. Hey, Ty, there she
It's gonna be
go.
a problem.
Where she go, Ty?
telling
What up,
you.
Ty? Hey, yo, real quick.
Tasha say she ain't having that.
To have a blended family, talking to you guys and in the audience and online, to have a blended family, you already have two things in common. You fail with the first one. You fail to do something. If it's a blended family, you got kids by somebody else, it fails somewhere. Am I right or wrong?
The relationship.
okay.
The relationship.
So-
You talking about the relationship? Yeah, the relationship.
Listen, it's a given. You failed the
It could
relationship.
well,
Go
it could have
ahead,
just
go ahead.
been fun. It could have just been a
Exactly.
recreational
You're right,
situation.
you're right.
So that doesn't mean fail. It means
got
it
you.
was what it was.
Oh, we gonna get
I
to
got
that
you.
next. It's
Yeah,
about to
yeah.
get juicy.
So check this juicy now. So check this out.
We about to go there.
You never know a person until you stay with them. You can have the most amazing sex, but if she likes spitting in the damn toilet, but I grew up spitting in the sink. When we damn brushing our teeth, I don't spit in the toilet cause hepatitis C. You ain't be spitting in no damn toilet in my house. And
That's
even
what I
in
just
your
said.
house. Right, exactly. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. That's crazy. So anyway, you don't know nobody until you actually get to stay with them and live with them. Y'all only hooking up, connecting, y'all having the best time, y'all dating, y'all drinking. If you don't drink, you're doing whatever type of intimacy from the last show that you're doing. But until you actually stay with somebody and get to see them naked for who they are, it's gonna take time. You're gonna have family meetings. Kids gonna be like this. I don't feel like this.
You gotta have family meetings. Family meetings
You
are
gotta
important.
have it.
I'm telling you,
gotta have it.
family
So-
meetings are very
Yeah.
important.
Interesting.
Okay, so
Go ahead.
go ahead with the comment.
Okay, so Malik says marriage is something serious you need to have that conversation with. Keisha, the family should have the conversation together. Malik, he says, if it's not serious, I don't think it should be. And then he was speaking to you. He said you had your mind made up. You were like baby boy.
Yeah, you got guns, you got butter. You got guns, you got butter.
And then Princess says, that's right, call me mama. Yes, so Malik, he says mommy need love too.
Yeah, mommy need love too. Mommy do need love.
Malik says just keep your own house. He don't want to blend. He said y'all better keep them houses and Lord have mercy, Airbnb them houses out so you can go back.
Yeah, Malik gonna keep going.
He
Thank
said,
you, Malik. We
he said
appreciate
it should be family dinner, Sunday dinner.
it. Okay.
Thanks,
right.
Malik. We appreciate you, bro.
All right, so we done touched on blended family. Let's go to it's a little similar to blended families, but let's go to step parenting before we go anywhere else. I want to go with step parenting. How do y'all feel about that? How do y'all feel about when is the time to step up to the plate? Because step parenting, right or wrong, can it come out when you're dating, or do you got to be official living together, or in a serious relationship? What do y'all feel about that as far as a step parent? When does the step parent responsibilities come into play when you're dating somebody with kids?
Well, what are step parenting responsibilities? I guess we have to establish that. And I think
I
it's
mean-
probably different for every household.
Of course. Every
Yeah.
situation is different.
Yeah.
But if you dating a woman that has a child, well, let's go to Nick first. How about that?
Man,
Let's go to
listen.
Nick. If you dating a woman
God, I'm gonna tell you.
that has a child, when do you step up? You feeling this woman, y'all get a little bit serious, whatever. Because at first, like you said, everybody look good in the interview. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You gonna get the baby ice cream and everything
All
with
that.
the mama and all that. But when do you take it to that point of taking full responsibility?
For a man to want to be a stepdaddy, that woman must have had that walk. She must have had that walk. Y'all know what that walk means. You listen. So if you want to be a stepdaddy, that means you ain't trying to leave that walk. I mean, I'm just speaking from
Bro.
not even. Listen, I'm serious.
Bro.
Listen, seriously, because you don't be in school like I want to be a stepdaddy when I grow up. It doesn't happen. It's something that just happens. You know, come on, let's be grown here. Can I get some real folks out here?
Go ahead.
Yeah, like for real, man. Like, you know, so
So the WAP makes you want to be a stepdad.
no. That was being facetious on that.
Okay,
You know,
go
but
ahead, break
listen,
it down.
sometimes that boy or that girl is yearning for a dad, and your heart goes out to that kid. Let's be serious here. Your heart goes out to that kid, and that woman needs help. And if she's your significant other, those kids come with her.
Okay,
So it's going to be challenging. It's going to be challenging.
Plural. You said kids.
Yeah,
but they all got different daddies.
Hey, you gotta watch out who you sleep with.
Yeah.
So like bro said, we should have talked about that at the beginning. You gonna wipe your girl with 5 kids, 8 different baby daddies, like a spade hand, and only reason you wiping her,
she got that walk.
She got that walk. And that's
No, man. I think so. First of all, WAP has. I don't think WAP has ever made me want to be a stepdad.
I've never been a stepdaddy. I've never been a stepdaddy.
But even wanting to be
because
one.
your kids are my kids.
Yeah.
So I don't believe in that stepdaddy. Your kids, my kids.
So that speaks to a certain level of love for that woman, to the point where you're saying, "What's yours is mine."
Exactly.
And your kids are yours, so now they're mine because I love you that much.
Right. It still take time.
You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah. It's not instant for everybody.
Bite off too much and they can't chew it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But that's
So
parenting in
it
general.
takes time. Yeah, it takes time.
Parenting, marriage.
It's hard to chew your own kids sometimes.
I think it takes balance. I think you got to really know what you're dealing with, and you know you really want that woman. You know what I'm saying? And you know it's a package deal. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter how many kids it is. It's 5, 7, 2, 1.
My mom was dope, and she had 3 kids.
Yeah, so
single mom with 3, and she was dope, bro.
But I really think it depends on that woman. Like if you want that woman, then you know what you got to do. You got to step up to the plate. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, Coach.
Me personally, right? I married a woman who was a package deal, had kids already.
How many?
2.
Okay.
2.
Okay, that's light.
One, a girl, man. Shout out to them. You know what I'm saying?
Fact.
I think for me, from the moment I was introduced to them, it became my job to start teaching them something. But that's just not. That's just my outtake. Period.
With kids.
With kids. Period. I'm coaching. I just met your son today. You know what I'm saying? I'm coaching. I'm teaching. I'm trying to teach the next generation things that I wish I had at whatever stage. So to answer the question, I think it's instantaneously, but it's a step. You don't, you know what I'm saying? You don't jump, hey man, wait, you didn't clean this house, Like it takes time, it takes patience. You know what I'm saying? It takes a lot of different things to blend that family together and to be an adult in the situation, especially when you have a hater. You know what I'm saying? The actual biological parent isn't a fan of yours for whatever reason.
Right.
You can always come see me. I'm not hard to find.
He probably that midget dude from Friday.
But so I think that it's as important as you're building that relationship with your new significant other to build a personal relationship with each kid individual. You have to cultivate that relationship because they're not going to follow me if they don't trust me. So once I establish trust, I establish love, I establish care, then I can show my leadership. You know what I'm saying? You have to do all of that. You got to be calculated with it. And then once you can do that, you know, they'll buy in a little easier. And there's going to be bumps in the road, especially like I said, you got the one parent, hey man, you got to listen to him. But you do, because you like eating and you like clothes and you like these things that I'm providing.
So what happens if you have an amazing connection with the mother, but you and the kids don't really connect?
I'm out.
Word.
I'm out. It's not fair to anyone in the situation.
I'm glad you brought that up too.
It's not fair to anybody in the situation.
So you tell it because you know our audience is watching. So you saying if it's not a connection or a bond or a conflict with the kids, but you really in love with that woman, it's best just to cut it off.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be problematic.
Dang.
on several-
Everybody-
Like y'all
Okay.
giving up just like
Everybody,
that.
you're
Like,
not gonna fight for it.
no, I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because
Like,
I think in
sometimes you
certain
can-
situations you can work that out.
yeah,
Right,
sometimes,
so
yeah, no, I'm with you. Sometimes I
it's-
feel like it may take time, effort,
Y'all
a whole lot
tripping.
of work, but you can win some kids over eventually.
Yeah, 'cause
you
they might
can't,
just be
but what
rebellious
I'm
at
saying
first.
is once you've established, because my situation wasn't easy.
Mhm.
I promise it wasn't.
Yeah.
And I think they were 9 and 11 when I entered into their lives, and now they're 17 and 20.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, we've been through the trenches.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? But so what I'm saying is, if once you know that it's not going to work, my love for a woman, not my wife because we worked, but my love for a woman, it shouldn't put her in peril to be in the middle between me and her kids. It shouldn't put the kids in a position to have to choose between their mom and their biological father. You know what I'm saying? When it's a situation like that where there can't be peace, take your ball and go home. Just take your ball. I mean, it's less stressful for everyone involved, in my
Right.
opinion.
Right.
Okay, I have one more question.
Go ahead.
Have anyone been in a situation where you were dating, you were dating someone, connected with their kids, had an amazing bond, and then you and the parent broke up?
The relationship.
What
is-
happened?
Yeah.
What happened? Did you stay connected with the kids, or was it like, yeah? Let me hear what you got to say on that, brother.
You got one too? Tim?
Anybody else?
Yeah,
Anybody
we
else?
got y'all
Anybody
two, and
else?
then we'll go.
I think it's a little different for some of us here, like Gene, me, you, Will. It's because we do community stuff. So we already connected with children in the community.
Facts.
We've already learned that before the relationship even comes about.
Facts.
So it's kind of easy if somebody has
And we've been
kids.
single. We've been
We've been
raised
single
by
parent.
single parents. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's kind of easy for us to adapt to another child versus just being the stepdad. For us personally, we don't use the step parent word. We're bonus dad and bonus mom. We stand as one, no matter what. So my daughter told me early on in the relationship, our bond, she was living with her dad, the same kid I talked about earlier. She said, hey, so when I talk to you, Dad, are you going to talk to her? I said, absolutely. I'm going to have a conversation with you, but I'm going to go back in the room. Me and her going to have a conversation. She said, well, hey, I'll tell you what, Dad, well, you don't need me saying anything else to you. If you're going to spread this. I stood firm on it.
Mm.
I had to stand firm. She has to stand firm on her children. Like the brother said, I take my ball and go home if it looks like we can't figure. It's a difference between your kid coming to sit between y'all because she's a little jealous right now
Mhm.
versus a complete toxic situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
If it's toxic and this kid is already like, I don't care, my daddy told me this, now I don't need to be there.
No.
The support has to be there.
Right.
Same way.
But if you and the kid got the bond,
Well, we got the bond. That's going to be different. I'm like I said, I'm a leader, so it's different. I take same thing. Once we start dating and it gets serious, instead of me pulling over there to the baby mom house all the time to handle stuff, I'm sitting her now
So
because they're gonna see
so
us
let,
as
so let
one.
me, so let me ask you a
Right, I got
question.
what you're saying.
Let me ask you a
Go
question.
ahead.
You come home tomorrow, right?
Mhm.
And she's there with another man.
Yeah.
So now you gone crazy, you done with her, you kick her out. Blah, blah, blah. Do the kids have to go too?
No. To this day, and this is experience, and she can tell you this. We're married now, but I still have a relationship with any woman that I dated kid.
How do you feel about
You said
that?
with the kid.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about him
Come
having
up here now.
a relationship
We gotta get to the bottom.
with kids from other people that he's dated prior to meeting you? Listen.
I'm having a hot flash. Sorry.
It's all good.
It doesn't because I'm mature enough. It doesn't bother me because I like seeing him with children. I think that's one of the things that really drew me to him because I see how he is with his own children and
Right.
other people's children.
Right.
So it doesn't bother me at all. I think it's a mature level. Like
Did-
I know that he doesn't want those other women because he's with me.
Come
So you know
on
what I
now.
mean? So
Come
it
on.
doesn't bother me at all. And
Okay.
I'm friends with them. Like when
Okay. Everybody
I
See,
see
cool.
that's
some
a
of
different
them-
ball game. I
Okay.
like it.
Yeah,
That's
I like how y'all
That's
got
a
it set up.
village.
Yeah, that's
I see
that's
some of
powerful.
them now, and I give them hugs and like it's
Nah,
you
that's
have to
dope.
be comfortable with yourself as a woman
Come on.
or
I
as
like
a
that.
man.
As a man,
You see
Come
what
on.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
Come on.
So I'm very
Come on.
comfortable with within myself.
Awesome.
That's dope.
Awesome.
Appreciate that.
I love
Appreciate
that.
that.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate y'all.
Terrence, you got something?
Yeah, I think the
Y'all
answer
can eat and drink, by the way. Yeah.
Travis, get you a drink.
the answer to the
I
question,
need-
yes. And depending on what the level of the relationship is, that you should stay connected to the children.
Yeah,
And there's
okay.
some children that I've known that I look out for when I see them out in public, take care of them or whatever, because we have a good relationship. That good relationship is good.
Right.
So you can do that, and that depends on if you have the ability to be in that person's life. I think I do want to go back to what brother was saying. If you can't work it out with the children, cut the relationship. I think that dynamic plays out for the individual. If you don't think that's going to work, yeah, you should step away. I also think that there may be some issues that ain't got nothing to do with you. It may not be you personally. It may be have an issue with her or her children, and regardless of how good you are, they're not going to allow it. So they may need to work some stuff out, because the reality is a child, if you're in a whatever relationship, a child usually loves the father because the mother instills love in the child for that man.
Come on.
Mm.
Come on.
And that's a good point. I like that.
And so if there's, if the relationship is tight and good, then all she's going to give to them are good reports and good things and telling him about him. So if that's not working, something else is going on. There may be some dynamics you don't know. And at a younger age, they just may be fighting back at all together until they grow up. But there's a lot of dynamics. And some people say they can see the dynamics and they know how much it's going to take or if it's even worth it. And it depends on how far you're in a relationship.
Most definitely. Thank you, brother.
Appreciate that, brother.
A woman finally.
Well, I think that I can speak from two different spectrums. As a child, I'm a product of having a bonus father. I say bonus as well. I think that having a bonus parent can be very beneficial. Sometimes people are better parents than they are partners.
Mm.
True.
And
True.
so I had a great bonus father. And being a child who really didn't know my father as well, I just remember visits and things like that, but having at least a step or a bonus father, as we would say, for at least 5 years, I can attest to having a genuine relationship. I think that a child knows when a person is being genuine, and versus you're trying to buy them to be close to the parent. And I think that the person has to be genuine in their intentions on getting to know the child. Also, by I guess 11, my parents had split, my bonus dad and mom, but the relationship has always remained to this day. And I never felt any kind of dissension or anything, but it actually was a relationship that created really fond memories, because I remember my bonus dad would come eat with me on Fridays. When I woke up on Fridays, is payday or whatever, there's a candy bar laying on the dresser for me. So I had really good memories and fond memories of having a bonus parent. But then on the other flip side, my son has never had that type of interaction with other men, because his father was in a coma for 3 years when he was first born. So he really didn't get to experience the father-son relationship really for a very long time, because his father had to regain, consciousness, learn to walk, learn to talk, and things like that. So it would have been very odd for him to be engaged with anyone. So in fact, when his father did come to visit, his father was a stranger because he had not known a male or father, in that capacity. So my son was very, very protective at 4 years old. And my son would stand like flat-footed, like, why are you here to see my mom?
Right.
He was even like that with his dad. He was like, don't sit beside my mom. He verbalized, don't sit beside my mom, because the boy is a lot of times the protector of the mom.
Absolutely.
Most
Mhm.
definitely.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yes,
Thank you.
sir.
Go ahead, Corey.
Well, to answer that question, as far as maintaining relationships with a former partner, I will say that in most cases, and I know it's applicable to me too, there was a cutoff. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes when you keep that connection with those kids, it leaves a small avenue of a connection between the two partners. And sometimes that can be, more times than not, detrimental if you both are genuinely trying to move on to the next. But I will say this, I do encourage people that if you have built that rapport in a previous relationship with the kids, I would say at least at the bare minimum, be a resource. You know what I'm saying? Because I was in a relationship where, we had intentions on going forward. Unfortunately, when I say go forward, like maybe going into matrimony and marriage, unfortunately, it did not work out that way. But I had conveyed to her, look, I would like for you to be a resource to my children and vice versa. I want to be a resource to yours, because her oldest, he just started high school. And so, we're talking about, SATs and things of that sort, and, college applications and admissions. And, with my children being as young as they are, she's a teacher, you know what I'm saying? So she specialized in specific areas that, hey, my kids needed tutelage in. So even though there may not be that strong rapport that we had before, I would say, as aforementioned, at least be a resource for that said child. And I just want to give that disclaimer, y'all. We have a child in here, so we're using the acronym WAP. So let's be careful we're using it. Absolutely. I'm just kidding. So, but be a resource though. So
Yeah, for sure. I like that. So with the step parenting, what comes? I like how y'all speaking about being a resource. But what if the other parent is still in the picture? Corey, I'll go with you because you have a great relationship.
Meaning
with
the
your son.
biological parent?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The biological
But
parent is still in the picture.
The other parent is moving on, dating, doing whatever. But it's a conflict with your relationship with your kids.
Do you understand that question?
You understand what I'm saying? So if you have a good, you have a good relationship with your kids, right? We just
His
take it
biological kids.
hypothetically. Like the person I'm talking about has a good relationship with their kids. The other person's moving on. We all moving on or whatever, but they're primarily with the mother or the father. If you're a woman, I'm talking about the father. If you're a man, I'm talking about the woman. So the kids are primarily with the mother, but you and the kids have a good relationship, but the mother is dating now. So it's changing the situation or the relationship between you and your kids because of the new relationship that they're in. You get what I'm saying? So how do we deal with that? Because you got your boundaries, you balance it out, it's working for you, everything's going good, but now the mom's in a new relationship and the new boyfriend or significant other is laying down ground rules in that household that's not coinciding with what you already put in place with y'all's relationship.
Anybody
can speak on it.
Anybody.
Come on.
I'm gonna go after you, brother.
Prime example, she was married before, I was married before.
Mm.
Like I said, I've set the tone on my side. So with my ex-wife, I make sure they communicate. I make sure that when we have a barbecue, she's at the house, kids don't feel divided.
Mm.
Her ex-husband didn't really want to have nothing to do with us. He pretty much was like, this ain't for me. Hey, she moved on, y'all do your own thing.
Mm.
But it was affecting his kids.
Mm.
The son was telling me, hey man, the way you be out here in the community doing stuff, you love the kids. He won't do none of this. He was always saying he was seeing his father in a different light.
Mm.
What I did, no matter how much that man probably didn't like me, I always encouraged that relationship with his father.
Mm.
Hey man, your father just grew up a different way. I do this because I live this.
Mm.
Don't demean him for this. Whenever the kids would come and say something to her, we went with dad this weekend, but then, we didn't do this and do that. And I would stop her. Don't entertain that with the children because
Right.
what's going to do is make them feel a different way about their father.
Mm.
So I've always, no matter what, she encourages my exes, I encourage her ex. So regardless whether we like each other or not, in front of those children, I'm always saying, man, go with your pops. Make sure you spend some time with them. Matter of fact, right now, both of them are living with the pops right now
Oh.
and getting ready to go off to UNC, going to college. So
That's
it
what's up.
worked. Now he's breaking the mold. Now he wants to talk to us.
Yeah.
Right.
So no
Right.
matter what it looks like, we still had to keep our composure in the house to say,
Right.
hey, you don't like us, but we're never gonna dog you.
Man, we appreciate
like
that. Anybody have a problem with the ex going to a barbecue in here? Anybody have a problem with the ex going to the barbecue? No? Everybody cool with the ex coming to the barbecue? Okay, this is a very understanding audience.
Nah, I don't want you coming in.
Yes, he
First
said,
ex, yeah.
he said they still invite their
The ex,
exes
yeah.
to, to family.
Well, I
functions.
wouldn't personally, but
Just be on FaceTime. We do Sunday dinners, every Sunday for the whole family. Whether the ex comes, whoever comes, we encourage them.
that's what's up. That's what's up.
Like it, bro.
Appreciate it.
Come on,
That's
now.
what I'm saying. You got
Come
to.
on now.
You got to come up with your new.
Y'all have
traditions
a
and
y'all
new
have a
things, like
y'all
you
have a
said
dope
earlier.
family for
You got
real.
to.
Y'all have a dope family.
But you know
I
what?
love
I know
that.
that takes
I
work.
love
It
that.
takes time and work to get to that point. You know what I'm saying?
I remember they called the police on me.
Right.
Yeah. We
the
want to
mic.
hear that.
I'm gonna give you a prime example. One of my daughters at one time it ran to my ex. We had an argument, ran to the ex, talked a little trash on the phone. Well, I'm a man's man. You ain't gonna talk that trash to me.
True.
I'm your father. So I'll pull over to the apartment. Let me talk to her. The ex-wife saying, "No, you can't come in. I believe you're gonna do something to her." They called the police. Police come in the parking lot and was like, "Hey, they banned me. They don't want you here." And I'm like, I bought all these cars. I take care of everything. None of these kids are gonna talk to me this way. 2 days later, my other daughter comes back from college to visit. So she's sitting at my house and she was like, "Hey, Dad, I just come check you out for a little bit. I'm ready to go to Mom's. Mom ain't really got much food, so I'm taking some food over there." I said, "No, you're not. We're going to the grocery store. I'm gonna buy the food." But they just called the police on you too. It don't matter. I'm still doing this. When she needed a car, I helped get the car. After a while, it stops the tension. You can't be over there talking about Dad. Kids is like, "Man, Dad put some chicken up in here. Dad got the car. I ain't got to fight that battle no more."
Right.
Now, all of a sudden, we all getting along. So it can happen, bro.
Prime
You just gotta
example.
change
That's
up.
what's up,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, for
That's
sure.
what's up.
That's what's up. That's dope. That's
Salute
dope.
to you,
Yo,
King.
you talk
got any
about
comments,
me,
Ed?
I ain't buying no car. You gonna catch the bus.
Jessica West, she says, I remain connected to the kids, assuming her ex. Sincere, I'm still in the picture with my baby father's kids. Just because me and him separated doesn't mean that's not still my kid.
Right.
That's what's up.
Malik says, great man right there.
Oh, yeah.
Wendy Armstrong, she said, that's great advice. Are y'all okay with it? I'm not sure what she's saying that to.
Who, Wendy said it?
Yeah.
Wendy, explain what you mean. Are we okay with it?
Yeah.
And what advice were you speaking of?
Yeah. So that's pretty good stuff, man. I like how he's breaking it down. We done came a long way. I feel like communication, give it time, know what you want, set the boundaries, have balance, of course. But one question: what do you do when you're dealing with a parent that has, if you end up you're dating somebody that has multiple? You're dealing with a woman or man that has multiple baby fathers or baby mothers. So the tactics that you're using with one, you have to use with multiple ones. You know what I'm saying? Or one parent might be better than the other two. You get what I'm saying? So how do we work those kinks out? And we're gonna wrap it up with that one because I think a lot of times it's a lot, and we don't look at it as far as that's concerned, because it's like it's about the children anyway. So if y'all are blended family, if y'all staying together, if y'all dating, the outside parents don't really matter. But at some point, it becomes a conflict, like my man said, because they want to lay down the ground rules or the rules that they have in place, they want to stick with for their kids, respectfully. You know what I'm saying? But it's not working out for the relationship or y'all household. How do we move forward in that?
Before you guys get started, Wendy followed up. She wants to know, are you guys okay with the ex coming to the barbecue?
No, I'm not.
Yeah,
I ain't
I'm
got
not
no
tripping,
problem
man.
with
I'm
it.
cool
Long
with
as he,
it.
long as he talk nice and walk light, he good. He can come to the
Oh, I
barber
thought you
shop.
were talking about our ex,
I
like your
agree.
personal ex. Yeah, no, I'm not inviting no ex. Oh. Would you invite your ex to the barbecue?
Well, like your child, your other ex.
No, I'm not. Because it's an issue of it's a conflict of interest for me. Like I don't want to. If we was on better terms, if we had a good relationship, if we communicated, if we talked, yeah, but we don't talk. So I wouldn't be personally.
I think for me, whether I would invite an ex or not depends on the comfort level of who I'm dating. Because at the end of the day, I don't want to make them uncomfortable in the situation, and they are my responsibility more so than my feelings of the ex. So I'm going to consider
worry
my
about
I'm going to
myself.
consider my mate. Well,
I'm
yeah, you're gonna
uncomfortable.
worry about yourself if you're doing too much.
I'm uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying?
Nah,
I don't feel
Oh, we're gonna show out. We're
nah,
not gonna show
yeah,
out.
yeah.
like,
So yeah,
but
yeah,
everybody's
yeah.
situation different. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely,
Go ahead.
absolutely.
Oh no. I was gonna say, so with my son's father, Mother's Day, I invited his fiance to breakfast because I was appreciative that she treats my son as her own, schoolwork, just extra stuff. And he felt like it was weird, and I just didn't understand why I couldn't.
What if your
Like, what
son
was
would have
weird?
called her mama? How would you have felt?
He does say that's his mom.
Okay, so and that doesn't bother.
It doesn't bother me because at the end of the day, I know,
Love it.
you know, my position with my child. Like, no
That's all.
problems. But that's funny because when I got married, he had a problem with my son calling my husband at the time daddy, but I didn't have the problem with my son calling at the time the girlfriend his stepmom, because he introduced her as, this is going to be your stepmom. He calls her son brother, and none of that bothered me. So I was confused why I was whole married and you had an issue with him calling him his stepdad. Or even he would say, my son's like, he said, my whomever my ex-husband was at the time, he was like, that's by his name, and that still was a problem. And I don't understand how something is good on your end, but you have a problem with the same thing on my end.
And I think it depends on age too. Cause like my kids is not calling nobody else daddy. That's just me personally, because I feel like as a man I've been there so long, and I stand my ground as a parent. Plus I got my kids, so it's a little bit different for me. But beforehand, I wouldn't have that. Me personally, I just wouldn't have that, because if you know me, why would you call another man daddy? Only reason I see a child
Right.
calling another man daddy is because the father's not in the picture.
Yeah,
You know
absolutely.
what I'm saying? Just like my stepdaughter is like my biological daughter because I'm all she knows. You know what I'm saying? And I wouldn't switch that up for the world. You know what I mean? Because she calls me daddy, always call me daddy. She can always call me daddy. But that's because of our situation. But when it comes to my biological kids calling somebody else daddy, I wouldn't have that. That just feels weird. Like that when I wouldn't know how to handle it really, but it would be my fault. I feel
You
like.
don't put
You know
that
what I'm
work
saying?
in, so you already know that ain't gonna happen. Period.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yes,
saying.
sir, yeah.
I don't see it, but some people see it different. Go ahead, Trey.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna take for instance, like, okay, my dad's still here, right? So my mom married to somebody else, right? So out of respect, you
She
know,
just had an anniversary too.
right,
Celebrate
right.
your mom.
Happy
Yeah,
anniversary,
yeah,
Mom.
anniversary,
Happy
yeah.
anniversary, Mom.
Yeah, so I have to give her respect for her husband, and as a father figure, and my mom's husband, I call him, you know, pops.
Pop.
You know what I'm saying? So it just depends on like the respect level that they give you. You know, that's just my opinion.
Right,
you know what I'm
right.
saying? So I'm gonna call him pop because he do a lot for me just as well as my dad do. So it's like it's not equal because he's not mine, but it's the same feeling that my dad gives me. He gives me that the same motivation, the same positive energy,
Yeah.
everything.
I
So
think it's more of a respect thing.
right,
It's a
but he-
respect thing.
yeah,
The
yeah.
word pops is not as dignifying as the word dad. You ain't
Yeah.
calling him
The age
dad.
difference.
You call
Nah.
him pops. We call him
I call him
pops.
pop, but I might say
You don't call him
yeah.
dad though.
Nah.
Yeah, and you're not gonna call him dad. So that's not.
I call
that's
my
not a bad
dad
thing.
daddy. Something, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? I say
right, that's a
daddy.
fact.
Hey,
That's a
look,
fact.
I'm still a
That's
little
a
boy.
fact. No, that's a fact. You know,
It
we
ain't
call
nothing wrong with
Amen.
it. Ain't nothing wrong
Amen.
with it.
niggas
But you
Amen.
stay right there though.
all the time.
Amen.
Would you allow your
Amen.
kid
Amen.
to call another man daddy? Talk about that. For a little
Okay.
bit when it
For-
comes to that point of view, because I get what you're saying on that end, but flip it.
I wouldn't. I would leave. To me, I don't have a problem with it because for one, I'm kind of in that kind of situation where that my 16-year-old, you know, he's there with, you know, the mom's boyfriend or whatever. But out of respect, my son don't call him dad. He calls him Mr. Such and such.
See,
You
that's
know
That's
what
how
I'm
it's
saying?
supposed to be though.
You know what I'm
That's
saying?
because you don't pour it in
Yeah,
your son. That's
right.
how it's
Yeah,
supposed to be.
you know what I'm saying. So I didn't have to go there. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
saying? So he just know. You know what I'm saying?
Got you.
Amen.
Ladies,
Amen.
what are ladies? We need to hear from the ladies. What do y'all?
Amen.
If you got a new man in y'all house, do y'all allow y'all kids to call the new man daddy?
For one, I didn't say man, I said husband at the time. But this
No,
is
that's
my
my question.
no, I got you. But my other part of it is my son was very like if you were around my son and you'd be like, is that your mom? He'd be like, no, that's my stepmom. Or that like my son is that your dad? He'd be like, no, that's my stepdad. So he knows whom the person is to him. My son just chose to like I'm supposed to say, you can't call him dad because he's not your dad.
I mean, you could have
Like,
done that.
Amen.
I'm not.
Amen.
Kids
He
do
said
that.
that's his
Amen.
stepdad,
Yeah,
but he
kids do that.
doesn't call him daddy. He just
Amen.
says, this is what I'm saying. He doesn't call him stepdad. He doesn't even call him dad in his face. He calls him by his name. But if you ask who he is to him, he'll say, that's my stepdad. And still my son's father had a problem with him saying, that's
Well, he
my
need to step
stepdad.
his
That's
game
the whole
up.
problem.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The biological dad
depends
need
on
to
the
step his game up if a nigga if the kid is calling your husband, ex-husband. No, that means daddy need to do something that he ain't been doing.
That's how I
Step
see
it up,
That's
daddy.
the only way I see it.
Or
If
the
he's
mom
allowed
or
to,
the
what you
mom
mean?
or the mom say you
Oh,
call
but the
him
mom,
that.
but
That's what I
know what
was
I
going
mean?
for. That's why I said, ladies,
Yeah.
speak up. Like, what are we going to go ahead?
sometimes dads just don't want to step up.
Me
That's a fact.
personally, I don't have a problem with like my children's. I have an older daughter than my younger two are by my ex-husband. So my oldest daughter does call her bonus mom. It's she call her Maji for mom. I don't have a problem with that because for me, that lets me know that she's comfortable with that lady, that woman, and also that she treats her as that's her own child. I don't have a problem with my kids calling my ex-husband's wife now mom. That doesn't bother me because I know I birthed my children, so it doesn't bother me. It just lets me know, it makes me more comfortable actually, because it lets me know that she treats them like they're her own children. My son, like y'all use the name Pops, he calls my husband Pops. But if he was to call him dad, I personally don't think that his father would mind it. I would hope he wouldn't, but he should know that our son is just comfortable with my husband.
Y'all have
It's a
y'all have a
maturity
village
thing.
mindset in y'all household.
You have what? Who'd
Y'all
say?
have a village mindset.
Yeah, I mean, but I
And it
believe
took
it's
time for y'all to get to that point, too.
where? What you mean?
To have that village mindset. To where y'all at now.
No.
This is my biological grandson,
Right.
not her biological,
Right.
but
Oh,
this
that's
is
sweet
Nona.
right there. I like
This is
that.
Nona.
Yeah, I'm Nona.
My ex-wife is grandma.
Mm-hmm.
We put it together. We get them on Sundays. She may get them on Thursdays. We
Mhm.
work that out.
That's what I'm saying. It took time for y'all to get to this point. in
Well,
y'all-
it took. Let me
in
say this.
y'all-
It took.
He's adorable.
When once we got together, we've only been married here
4 years in
before
November.
4 years.
Mhm.
Okay.
So I'd already had the mindset as a man coming in. So I set the tone for
From the beginning.
everybody. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For it to work. For them, they came in, it was like, it's different, it's new, but it's working. So no one really rocked the boat. You
Right,
see what I'm
right,
saying?
right.
So it was, I already was working on relationships with my exes beforehand, before she came in the door. So by the time she came in the door, it worked together. But you are right. Throughout those years before she got there, it was a lot of work. It was a lot of back and forth, a lot of stuff that was going on.
Right.
I just got tired of, and as men, I know we know this. I got tired of my kids coming over, getting a plate at my house for Thanksgiving, but going over their other grandparents' house and hanging out. I got tired of me seeing my kids for an hour on Christmas and they going somewhere else.
Hang out.
When they probably like, oh man, grandma over here, we want to stay a little longer, Dad, but you can't because you got to go over here. So I decided to be like, okay, let me start inviting them so my kids will never be separated, never have to pick and choose no more. And if everybody coming at first, you get a little. The first gathering we done that, my sister was like, man, you must got them trained. Exclude. You know what I'm saying? You got your new lady walking around here serving your old lads. And I had to check her. Like, yo, watch your mouth. We don't do that. Like, you give her the respect. She don't have to do this. She's doing this out of the kindness of her heart.
Yeah.
It's about us checking the people around us. It's not about us.
That's right.
Come on, bro.
That's a
Come
man.
on.
You a man's man.
Come on.
I like
Come
that.
on.
I like
I heard that.
That's big
But
bro
my-
right there.
My son only has one
That's big
father.
bro.
My daughter only has one father.
Facts.
Amen.
And that's it.
Definitely not
No, it's not
insecure.
insecure. It's not insecure.
No,
But
what am I
as
Me
insecure about?
personally, I have a 17-year-old and a 5-year-old. Nah, I'm not doing it. Not, I mean, maybe we get married and she gets older.
Marriage is
and
different. Though.
choose
Out of respect,
to,
I feel you. Marriage
but
is different.
to be 5
Marriage is
years
totally
old
different.
and she's running around, their father is around. So she running around calling another man daddy.
You get married, like you're getting married to stay married. So I don't think
Understandable.
for a long period of time. So
I wouldn't even be comfortable
It's not
if
that,
another
that
kid is calling me that at that age. If I didn't raise them,
You
that
know,
I mean, I'd be like, call me Nick. And if I raised the kid,
whatever
it's
that man
different.
government name.
If I can't have two wives, they can't have two daddies.
That's a fact.
You know what? Wendy Armstrong.
Just that simple. Nah.
so you had the bonus parents like
I mean,
Tasha.
everybody came
Yeah,
from different
yeah.
situations. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. But she played her position. She was there for you.
No, I really think it
Oh,
depends
gotcha.
on.
And
It
then
depends on.
yeah,
You know, what I'm
that's
saying
a little,
depends.
but to come
Yeah, that's all
in,
that boils down to
yeah.
the parents. Go ahead.
is it a problem because you're actually in your child's life and you're doing?
Yeah, that's what we discussed
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah.
That's what we said earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's what we said. Dominique had mentioned
Yeah.
earlier. Like when the father is absent, then yeah, that person actually assumed the father role.
But
But
say
when a father
And then wants to come in.
Or-
and the father wants is like, okay, you know what? Now I have.
if I'm dealing with
a
a kid,
Go
that
to
has
the mic,
an
we can't-
active father, but this is what I'm saying.
But
They have an active father in their lives. I'm not going to ask that kid to call.
I'm gonna do the Dante thing. I'm gonna sit behind.
The child, okay, what
Let me
if-
take off.
what if, and I would say marriage, what if you're in the child's life and you're married to the mother, the father's not around, and then all of a sudden he decides that he wants to come in the picture, but you've done all this growing.
Nah, that's the
The
Fresh
child-
Prince of Bel Air. Nah. He don't get Lou don't get to come back in.
You know what?
Nah.
Go ahead.
Let's just say, like you said, G, this is your child, or let's just say you was married and they had a child. The father is not absent, but he's Will, and Will has a job that has to travel. He may have to be gone for the week. When he comes in, he does the father duties. He does what he has to do. But you're here every day. This doesn't diminish what he's doing. This is where his job takes. But if you're there picking the little man up from school, making sure he has dinner ready and doing that, you're just doing father duty. It doesn't diminish him being a
I'll
father.
commend that man. I commend that man. I
Yeah, I
commend
get
that
what you're
man.
saying.
No,
So if
I-
he says,
I feel
hey,
you,
I
but-
want you to
but
be
I-
my bone,
But I'm doing that with the understanding
Uh-huh.
that I'm either your stepfather or your bonus father.
that's it.
Because I don't want any confusion. Like
Oh, yeah.
you need to know who your father is because he's active.
Now, one thing I don't believe in, you shouldn't be asking that kid to call you that.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah, that's
if it
all I was
becomes
saying. Yeah.
that you've been
You
there
should
all
not be
week
asking.
and he decides to be like, hey man,
Now,
I'm
if they
starting to call
start,
you
then
pops
I ain't
now.
gonna say
You see what I'm
stop, you
saying?
know what I'm saying?
And I'm
Because-
cool with him
Yeah.
being a father to
Yeah.
me. You know what I'm saying? You've been a father figure to
Mhm.
me. Like I'm cool with all of that. But if he has an active father, man, I just would not feel comfortable with him just saying like father or dad without putting the bonus or the step in
Oh, I
front of
get
there.
it. That-
Because I don't want to take away from what
The father dad thing is different. The only reason why I say it that way is I've experienced it different.
Yeah.
If I go to her daughter's school and I'm here, they're gonna say, hey, your father here. I'm not trying to diminish that man, but I'm not gonna diminish her in this instant either when she's viewed me as a father.
understood.
So now I'm gonna agree to that. I may not never say I'm not gonna say I'm the
I might
biological
say I'm
right
one
then.
of
You see
them.
what I'm saying?
we
I
get
might
that
say I'm
point,
one
yeah.
of them, but I want to make it. I would want to make it clear to the teachers and the administrators that she got. It's another man in her life too, and you might see him as well.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they already know that.
We
You know
don't.
what I'm saying?
What I'm saying is you don't diminish the other. The father.
Absolutely.
If he's
Absolutely.
there, he's there. Even if he's
Absolutely.
not there, I still don't play that. I'm still
Yeah.
encouraging him to do his thing. what I'm saying is that, and it is different from dating and marriage.
Mhm.
Once you say I do to that woman, like we said earlier, it's a package. You've married that family. Same thing. If
Agreed.
Will was married to her 10 years earlier, that's still his mother-in-law, even though you're the new son-in-law. It's still the same thing. So
Mhm.
that's all I want to say.
I got you.
That's
I
real.
got
That's
you.
real.
Wendy Armstrong, my kids are grown, and that's not going to work. I put too much time, hard work, and sacrifices in being their mom. I said what I said, and I'm sticking to it. Her answer
Alright.
is absolutely no, Wendy.
Yeah, I agree.
Malik, nothing wrong with tribe or village. Wendy, she says, so true. The man sets the tone.
If he's allowed to.
Yeah.
If he's allowed to. Otherwise, it's a fight. All right. bro.
Dante, it's great to see and hear difference of opinions. And what works for one may not work for the next in this world of parenting. That was Dante.
At the end of the
Appreciate
day,
it.
that's real. That's
He
real,
said
Dante.
what works for one
To
may
wrap it
not
all up.
work for the next in the world
Absolutely.
Oh,
of
yeah.
parenting.
Absolutely.
Every household different, every
Yeah,
father different,
every
every
walk of
mother
life,
different.
every
Yeah.
different.
But you know
Yeah.
what, fellas, we realize that communication is key.
Communication
Patience,
is key.
and it takes time. You know what I'm saying? And it also still takes a village. What
Takes
you
a
think?
village.
Absolutely. I mean, I buy into the village concept because I'm a beneficiary of the village concept. So
Right.
I definitely buy into it. I allow people to pour into my, my daughter and my son. And I welcome it and I appreciate it.
Most definitely.
But I do understand how some people don't,
Yeah.
but I have benefited from it. So I definitely welcome it.
What about you, brother?
My final thoughts about the situation is I've seen daughters outmature mothers. I've seen sons outmature fathers. I've seen little homies outmature big homies. At the end of the day, for the blended family and everything else in the collective thing, in the collective aspect of it, if it works for you, it works for you. You know what I'm saying? If stepmother stepped her game up or stepfather, but the title is earned.
You gotta be. Yeah.
You by your actions.
Mhm.
You have to do mother stuff, father stuff before you get that title.
Exactly.
And and that's what it is. But as therapist Tay said, it's different folks for different strokes.
Most definitely.
But yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I hope this was very informative to y'all. I agree with both of you fellas and the audience. I feel like I keep saying, communication is key. And like you said, brother, I feel like actions determines the title, not just a title. You know what I'm saying? The actions determines the title for me. So I do disagree with a child calling another man daddy or
Most definitely.
another parent mother or something like that. Like you say, if it's under certain circumstances, if we
Under
agreed
certain
on it, if we
circumstances,
communicate
yeah.
about it, then differently. You know what I'm saying? But just automatically calling them mommy and daddy, I don't agree with. But other than that, if you're a parent, period, we appreciate you. We appreciate our audience
Appreciate
today.
you.
I hope y'all enjoyed this show.
Definitely
I hope this
appreciate
motivated
y'all.
y'all to be better parents, to co-parent better, to communicate with the other parent. If you're a step parent, I hope this helped you to step up to the plate and handle your responsibilities as a step parent and still communicate to the kid and the other parent about step parenting or about the situation to make the situation better. If you're a single parent, I salute you. Keep doing your thing.
Salute.
All day.
And if it's a blended family, set new traditions, set routines like the audience said earlier, and do what works for you.
Do what works for you.
Don't try to follow what somebody else said or what's going on over here. Do what works for your household. Communicate that to the other parent, and hopefully y'all can find common grounds on raising those kids. Because at the end of the day, it's about the kids. We love y'all. There's been another Conversations That Matter. Co-parenting, step parenting, blended families, and all that. Single parenting too. We love y'all and we thank y'all. Any last words from the audience? Y'all been great today. Give it up for yourselves, man. Give it up for y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. Next week we catch y'all same time, same place.
Same place.
Yeah, know it.
That's right. I'm William Hussey 365.
Gene Blackman.
Big 22, Dominique Davis.
And it's been another episode of Conversations That Matter. We'll see y'all next week.
Love.
Just like that.
We are. Yeah.